Welcome to The Way Hum, the podcast where we navigate the fascinating realms of transformation and the clarity of living life in full awareness. Join us as we seek to uncover age-old secrets of how to create a more intentioned and harmonious existence, and where we do this standing in the transcendent power of love, while at the same time shouldering the immense responsibility of truth-telling, whether it serves the current narrative or not. We are lifelong spiritual seekers, and we are here to share. We're going to talk about today, or what we are intending to talk about, who knows where we'll go, but the intention is to talk about psychedelics today. Awesome. I mean, that's a hot topic right now, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's been a hot topic brewing for sure. For sure. And it's a wonderful topic.
I know it's
scares people too.
I get really excited and very passionate about psychedelics because I just think it is so timely given the fact that so many people are suffering with depression. You know, so we know that there are segments of the population who's going to be better off now that psychedelics are somewhat legal. At least they've been legalized.
And becoming a little more accepted, or just a little bit more out there in the general public that may be less than open-minded.
Absolutely.
Less than open-minded folks are getting a little bit more of it exposed to them in whatever various angles, wherever they're at.
Yeah.
You know, who knows? And so it's like dropping a seed. It's like planting a seed, dropping a carrot, just kind of waving and saying, hey, chew on this. And this is what's going on with it.
You know, the interesting thing.
And it may apply to you.
Yeah, for sure. But the interesting thing is when I meet people and they're not familiar, I feel like we've been bombarded with information about psychedelics.
I know I have like willingly.
Well, you probably could teach a couple classes.
Ever since I was a kid, it's been a very interesting I've always been fascinated by it ever since I was a kid.
You know, I probably had a different experience. So I was the kid who was afraid. First of all, I come out of the era where they were just making them illegal when I came into the world for the most part. And so you were a little bit behind me. But, you know, I think that I probably understood when the news stories and the PSAs and all of the scare tactics were around. Definitely by the time I was in school, there was just a lot of bad trip, LSD, be aware, someone's going to drop something in your food.
You'll trip and not come back.
Exactly. So they did a great job on me. I stayed away from mushrooms for a long time, for a very long time. Probably wasn't your experience.
My experience was not that. Now, granted, I was told that I should stay away, right? And I was growing up in an environment that it was like, you know, I would think of it to be rather rare growing up in the environment that I grew up in that people knew about that stuff. Because I grew up in a rather conservative kind of, you know, square, pretty rigid, you know. I grew up in an environment that it was like, you must be very concerned about what other people think of you. And none of that felt good. So when I was told to avoid things like that, that was the green light to go, I better take a look at that pretty close, right? And just not tell anyone. And so I did.
Then so you did.
I was very, very willing. Yes.
Okay. So how did you find it in this community that was very straight-laced, square? But do you remember?
Well, yeah. I mean, for me, it was more like it was the whole reason why I began this little journey, let's say, of enlightenment and wisdom, right? I was 11 years old, and the way I was growing up, it was very evident that I must look good on the outside, right? What happened behind closed doors was irrelevant. And it was words and actions not lining up. It was hypocrisy. It was do as I say, not as I do. And so at age 11, none of that felt good.
Okay.
Right? It didn't line up. It was all it was it was really confusing, but I couldn't tell you why. I didn't have emotional maturity to understand it.
Right.
All I could do was feel it.
Yeah.
and then rebel against it.
Okay.
And so I did. And so, I was growing up in New Mexico, and I was able to have access to Native American practice.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
So,
And Native American practice. And so I got introduced to hallucinogenics through that. And through that, I discovered that through hallucinogenics, I could open up the doors of my consciousness and go way farther beyond what I was seeing directly in front of me. Because what I was experiencing directly in front of me was hypocrisy. It was control. It was judgment.
Yeah.
None of it felt good. None of it was loving.
Right.
Right. I got bored with playing along. Right.
Yeah.
It was no longer amusing. It was not stimulating.
Right.
And I needed more.
So did that come out of like a strict religious kind of a
No. I just grew
background?
up from a country club lifestyle.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I just took this simple country club lifestyle. Look good on the outside. Who cares what goes on behind closed doors?
Gotcha.
Just smile and wave.
Smile and
Right.
wave.
And mind your manners. Right.
Right.
Go to brunch every Sunday. Good to go. Play along. But I didn't like to play along.
Right.
I've always known that I kind of beat to my own drum.
Yeah. So you kind of wanted the two to match up. And since it wasn't, hey, let me go see what's out there.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Why, in other words, it was very clear that nothing was matching up
Right.
because it didn't feel like it matched up.
Right.
So that right there was the green light to go to discover, to adventure, to explore this thing called life.
Yeah.
Because the explanation that I was getting from it at home and around me, peers, school, right, traditional, normal society like stuff,
Yeah.
was it just wasn't enough.
Right.
Not only was it not enough, it was conflicting. And because it was conflicting, it was confusing.
Yeah.
And all I wanted was understanding and clarity.
So did you get that from the mushrooms?
Oh, absolutely.
You did.
Absolutely. You know what I got it from?
Right.
Was opening up. The mushrooms are just a tool to open up the doors of your consciousness, right?
Right.
So I was able to open up that door. And when I opened up that door, I discovered a whole world inside a world.
So I have never talked to anyone who used any psychedelics at such a young age. No,
Really?
So, yeah. And let me just tell you, this is going to be fascinating for me because we know that if we talk about the experiences that we've had using them, like if you go and you tell someone what you experienced, they're very likely to have that same experience, right? So we know that. And so we try not to share them in what we do. We try not to share those experiences because we want everyone to have as valid an experience, as clear an experience as they possibly can. Now, at 11, what you must have come in for you had to have been interesting because you don't have a lot of experiences. You didn't have a lot to, kind of sort and compare, which is what happens in the subconscious mind, right?
Yeah.
So do you remember?
Nor did I have a lot of emotional maturity to be able to absorb what I absorbed, right? Initially when I first started, initially when I first started, it was for a kaleidoscope experience.
What does that mean?
Very colorful, very animated,
That's what you were looking for?
Well, that's initially why I sort of started out on it was I wanted to go real far beyond.
Okay.
Right? So
you kind of had an expectation. You had an expectation of if I do this, I'm going to move in a particular direction.
No, because I didn't know what direction I was going to go in.
Okay.
It was just under the premise of take this and some magic is going to occur.
Okay.
Right? It's like, all right. So I kind of thought if I take a little bit more, I'll have a little bit more magic.
Okay.
Right? And so there was some trial and error and stuff in there.
Right.
But one of the things that I discovered, and that's what I'm talking about, kaleidoscopes, along this whole stuff that we talk about, there's varying doses, there's varying distances that one can go in opening up the doors of their consciousness.
Right. Sure.
And so, so what I discovered right away was I could take a look at my life without me in it.
Okay.
Right? I could separate me from me. I touched a space where I could be unattached to me.
Right.
So I could observe me, look at me, feel me without me, but knowing that it's me doing this.
So that was kind of that ego
separation.
Yeah. So you experienced that at 11.
Yeah.
And so what did you think of that? Like how did you interpret that?
I thought it was amazing. It was more like a game.
Okay.
I could take a look at my life. And here's one of the greatest things I got from it was I could take a look at my life. I could look at my life and lay it all out on a table.
Yeah.
And then rearrange it the way that I wanted to and then do it. And then periodically do it. And that's sort of that's kind of one of the benefits of it that we experience with it today.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
It's like a tool for living, or it's a tool for seeing, or it's a tool for examining, or it's a tool for exploring, observing, right?
Yeah.
And with the right dosage and the mindset of the individual prior to is critical.
For sure.
Right? And their setting, one can have a spiritual experience.
And, even I am very slow to even use that language simply because it puts such a
oh yeah.
It puts such a big expectation for the people.
It validates their concept of what that is. Those two words, spiritual experience.
Yeah.
They mean something so unique to everyone.
And that brings us to, for me, like a big issue when it comes to looking at psychedelics or any altered state of consciousness is this idea of reality. Like we all have our own ideas about what is real and what's not. And unfortunately, as wonderful as these substances are, we're really only going to experience what we're capable of experiencing.
At that time.
At that moment. But even if you look at the experience of humans in general, right?
Yeah.
Of the human experience, it has edges. It has limits.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, big time. Big time. It has
all
boundaries.
Of our aliens look a certain way. All of our aliens have the big eyes, right? And the bald heads, whatever you want to call them.
They have the same vehicles, similar.
They're all flying around in the
Some
same
go
model.
faster than others, whether they're on the ground or not. Right? Some are shinier than others.
It's the truth. And they all have noses and eyes and that are set in a face that kind of looks like ours, conveniently.
It's like a culture. There's all these different cultures out there, that are,
cultures that look similarly like all the cultures here.
Isn't that amazing? Fascinating, in fact.
We can only do so much. And I think there was a movie here recently where the alien was more alien, like it didn't have a face. I don't know the name of the movie. No one asked me that. But it was more machine-like. And I thought, well, okay, so we've moved into the machine era. We're
We're techie.
Robots and so we're
techie.
We're techie. So our aliens can get a little more techie, but we're still just making little bitty moves towards something that is different because we only have a understanding of reality that is on a spectrum of it's so big. Is this making sense?
It makes perfect sense. No matter what, the capacity hasn't really gone too far beyond since the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
since the beginning.
what beginning is that? Right?
That's a whole other
beginning?
topic of discussion, right?
But let's just say we definitely are, I feel like we're limited. We're limited. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. I just hate to give people this idea that you're going to bring in some great new, amazing idea because you're using psychedelics, which has been on the planet for forever.
Well, that's not necessarily the case.
Okay. Tell me how you say.
Well, hold on. Let me go back and saying, like, kind of the way that I feel about it is, if one is willing to open up their mind and have an experience that is open,
Yeah.
then their current boundary just expands.
I agree with you
Right.
100%.
Now it's like, I don't, it's not like, this is where it can get a little bit delicate.
I know.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I feel like one of the most important things to understand is what we share is already in others.
And that's the point that
Right.
I'm making here.
Yeah.
Is that as a group, as a living organism called humans, we have an understanding. And that understanding, that reality that we've all agreed upon is what we've agreed upon. And so it has edges. We have not agreed upon anything else. And I'm not saying
Now,
that there aren't.
that reality, though, is a general and a specific. There's a general reality that we all agree upon.
Sure.
But to each individual has their own perspective and perception of reality.
Absolutely.
Generally and specifically. Right? It's like, in general, it's really cold today. Specifically to some, it's not cold as it may be to others, let's say.
But
no matter what, the reality is very similar, and it's the same.
Absolutely.
Purely based on the measurement of our temperature.
This thing called temperature is what it is. The point. This thing called temperature.
But how it feels is specific to the individual.
I agree with you. And that's where psychedelics are an amazing thing. It's because there's so much talk about it that I always like to temper the conversation with it. I am pro psychedelics and psilocybin in particular, which are mushrooms. I'm totally for it. It has shown itself to be absolutely amazing for those suffering with depression, those suffering with alcohol use disorders,
anxiety, addiction.
It's
varying forms.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, and we need that. When we get into the spirituality aspect of things, I'm always like, I have nothing to say. I don't want to, first of all, give anyone any ideas about what they should experience. But I can say this. What we know about all of the early pioneers of the 60s, or the 50s and 60s, when they had creation journeys, experiences, they all look the same.
Yes, they do.
They all
no different than our aliens or the spaceships.
They were all the same thing. We don't hear about those anymore. At least I don't. I'm not sure. I haven't, and I've been reading up on this and practicing this a lot. I don't hear those anymore. So something shifted between the 60s and now. And the way that we're thinking about creation has shifted, I would say. Either that, or we're just not hearing those Big Bang creation stories enough to actually try to reproduce them. And I'm not going to say try to reproduce them, but where they're reproduced in our psychedelic journeys. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
That's why I am always very slow to talk about what you can experience for that reason. And also because I think it just puts so much pressure on people to go out there and just have this, amazing, really personal creation, come up with some word
it's
for
like
it.
a creation
other than Big Bang.
transformation. You know what I mean? Because like now,
Or transferal. Is that what transformation as in something different? Or?
Long time ago when the pioneers were doing their thing, it was simply for opening up the doors of your consciousness, to open up your mind. To right?
Well, yeah. Well, they didn't know.
They didn't know, but that's kind of why they did it. Was, I don't know what this is going to do, but I know it's going to do something.
No, I'm hoping it's going to do something.
Right. And so no matter what, it's going to open me up no matter what. Right. So the intent wasn't for like anxiety or depression or addiction or whatever like that. It had a whole different focus.
Right.
Part of that focus was out of rebellion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Out of a movement, whatever. And today the focus is different.
Okay, so you're feeling like the outcomes are different because of what
the intention is different.
The intention. So you don't feel like people are using it now to rebel or B, open up
that too for sure.
Okay.
That too for sure. Absolutely. Okay. There's some people out there, that are like, no matter what my family says, I'm doing it because I believe in it, because I have this friend or I've read about this or whatever.
Sure.
I'm willing to try it.
Right.
And it's that openness, that willingness to do something different.
Yeah.
Is where they receive the most benefit.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Whatever it is a person gets from it is unique to them. Right? And I also feel like you, it's a very delicate kind of thing. I sort of feel a little bit based on the power of suggestion.
For sure.
Right? Because if you suggest something to someone, then that may imply that they have an expectation. And if that doesn't occur, they may be bummed out.
Absolutely. And so 2 things I think that I want to make really clear.
Mm-hmm.
One is absolutely that I think that it's a great thing and you're going to experience something that can move the needle for you, right? Mm-hmm. For the individual.
In whatever way.
In whatever way.
Whatever that looks like.
Whatever that is.
That's the whole beauty of it.
That is absolutely, I think. And then number 2 is it absolutely will move the needle if what you're looking to do is address depression, anxiety, PTSD, alcohol use, and some other, physical ailments. I think you can throw in there.
Not only physical, but mental.
And so when I say physical, I'm talking about like chemicals and brain oriented stuff.
Sure.
And when I talk about spirituality, I'm talking more of a kind of a subconscious mind expansion.
Yeah.
Altered states of consciousness.
Yeah.
So
a deeper consciousness, not a surface consciousness. Surface consciousness implies getting up, going to work, going about your day, la-di-da.
Right.
Getting to your meeting on time, lunch, whatever.
Right.
What we're talking about is a whole deeper thing.
For sure. Definitely. It's so deep that I could tell you that when you're talking about altered states of consciousness, there are some people who are really afraid to try it because it might actually open up some doors that they're not willing to go through. Mm-hmm. So they've seen interviews where people have become more psychic or where they now see things that other people don't see. And so I've had people who say to me oh no, I'm not going to try it because I don't want to see. I don't want to see. I don't want to see. Exactly.
I have a concept of what that may look like. It's a very fearful concept, and I'll stick with that. I'm cool. Thank you.
I'm fine where I am. So we know that that absolutely that there is something really wonderful that can come out of it. There are many wonderful things that can come out of it. And I'm not saying that even if you started to see things you didn't want to see, that would necessarily be a bad thing. However, What I'm saying is we must absolutely just leave it where it is, kind of. Leave the door open. I say, even if you want to experience something spiritually enlightening, go for it. And just don't put so much pressure on yourself
That's key.
that you don't even hallucinate necessarily. Some people don't hallucinate. You may
Right.
not see pink elephants,
Right.
but whatever it is that you do see is what you should see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever you do feel,
It,
you can count on it being rather real,
yeah,
right?
real and
Real, whether you want to feel it or not, right? When those doors are opened up, it brings stuff to the surface.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Right.
When you get to dive deeper in,
yes,
right, you also bring stuff to the surface.
yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
You can bring stuff to the surface that can be very emotionally moving, right? Just to be able to feel whatever, even if it's like let's say time going away, because that's one of the neat things that occurs in that space.
Can
Is a feeling of unity.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Right? A feeling of unity can occur with life. Right? And that is one of the things that can be very challenging with people. And that lack of unity or that separation is what radically can attribute to the reason why one is watching this, thinking about taking a psilocybin journey within themselves.
For sure.
Because all of this is a journey to become more self-aware.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for me, the greatest benefit of it all, my whole life, you know, and I took him as a young lad, and then I stopped, and then I've introduced it, and then stopped, and I introduce it, and along the way, it's as if
Unmind is psychedelic therapy. In a safe and supportive environment, psychedelic therapy opens the door to self-discovery. Create a healthy alternative and embrace a new normal. At Unmind, your guides are experienced professionals. Visit thehummind.com for more information.
it's like the relationship with it, right? It grows too. The relationship with it grows as you get to grow inside.
Right.
You know, and the self-awareness comes, and it's still today, it's still a tool.
And you're
Right.
talking about the relationship with the mushroom?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Grows as you
Absolutely.
yourself.
It's like I've got to grow with it as it exposes and allows me to grow. Because, you know, along the way it opened up, and you know, the near-death out-of-body experiences really helped that.
Yeah.
Right? And it all aids in itself to perceive a perspective that is rather magical and beautiful
Right.
in life, right? Like, how can life be magical and beautiful? One of the ways one may find that it can be is through psilocybin,
Yeah.
through trance, you know, through an altered state of consciousness.
I think that that is absolutely perfect to give you a first view,
Yeah.
right?
Because like when you mention magic mushrooms to some people,
Right.
oh, it scares them,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, you know, it makes them go, oh no, right?
That's the marketing. I'm sorry.
Or propaganda.
They're probably my age.
or childhood conditioning, or religion, or parents, or a friend's bad experience. We've all had that. We've all known that person who said, oh no, I had a friend that did that and I don't want any part of it.
I think that's the same machine, though.
It is.
That's all the same machine.
It is the same
because
machine.
the truth is that
The truth is,
from my experience, and you can probably attest to this, there is no such thing as this bad experience other than like a bad dream.
Yeah.
We all can have bad dreams because, that's what's hanging out in the subconscious at that time. Same thing, but you're gonna go jump off the roof of a building, which was always the one that they talked about when I was a kid. Is that
someone thought they could fly out of a tree?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Ran out of the house with no clothes and got hit by a car.
Yeah.
The most fantastic, horrible experiences, right? So I think that's all one machine that was, marched out there for the people so that they wouldn't demand it. Because, of course, you had those pioneers who were saying, this is super great. Like, this is not only mind altering, but life altering. Like, you're going to experience something that's definitely worth you experiencing, whether it hangs around or not.
And it's expansive.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not, it's not like it has legs.
Can be expensive and
It
can have like
can
I feel
impact one's life in something more long term.
Yes.
Right? Like it can. I love how you're influencing me to use that word can. Thank you. Because it's not
I have to add the disclaimer. And again, it's only because people feel the pressure of having something amazing and outside of what we're capable of. And I'm just going to keep saying that because our aliens are all going to look the same for a reason. We can't really imagine, and this is not, this isn't something that's necessarily coming outside of us. And at the same time, I want to say this, and then I don't want to, limit anyone either. And I don't want to limit anyone's experiences. But hey, look, we're humans. We're having a human experience. Psilocybin is part of that, or I should say psychedelics are a part of that human experience that we're having.
And have been for quite some time.
And have for quite some time.
But, through whatever form.
Right.
Right.
And I think that that's what psychedelics do best, actually, aside from the physical stuff, which could be called the mental stuff, is it gives us that feeling that we are all having one experience.
Right. Right.
If the ego dissolves, the idea of self dissolves, which means...
Or maybe takes a break from itself, right? Just to, when one could take a break from themselves for a second.
Right.
And just kind of feel it in a much more of a floodlight perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
We're all kind of cruising on the same wave.
We're all kind of cruising on the same wave. And that is a very cool thing to experience.
It's a beautiful thing.
I don't think that anyone can have that experience and then continue to be as inconsiderate or selfish. At least I think that they'll try not to anyhow. Like there is an understanding because we know, again, all the pioneers, what they wanted to do was hold on to that, whatever it is they were experiencing. Like, how can we make this last? Like they went back into their labs and so forth at Harvard and how can we make it last? Like, how can we do this? I don't know that it has to last. I think if you can touch that and you can see it, there's a shift that will probably take place.
Hands down.
That can take place.
Oh, very good. Good catch. Good catch. That can take place. And what is that shift?
That shift, I think, has to do with our ideas of how it is we're related to one another.
And how we perceive that relationship.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of like what that shift is the shift is in perspective.
Yeah.
Right? And how we perceive.
Right.
Like
how we perceive.
The moment we get to look at how am I perceiving what I'm perceiving.
Right.
Right. When we're not in that, oh my goodness, it really can be rainbows, unicorns, and Skittles.
You're right.
You know what I mean? on rainy days. On rainy days, man, you can have rainbows, unicorns, and Skittles.
Yeah.
If you choose to.
Right.
Because the rainy day is necessary for the sun. You know, like after a rainy day, you get to see how bright the sun is. Right.
Yeah.
And after a hot day, you really welcome that rainy day.
That just takes us right back to our ideas of reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is this concept of reality? If I think rainbows and unicorns are probably the norm for you. That's probably a really huge part of your reality.
It is.
Right?
It is. Especially since my last experience, like all of a sudden it became rainbows and unicorns without thinking.
Right.
Like it just became automatic.
Like it's just there. Like they were part of like
all the unnecessary
environment.
stuff. Yeah. Like all the stuff in my mental thinking that obscured the rainbows. I got to get closer to the mic. All the thinking and stuff that obscured, that clouded the rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah.
In that last, experience, where I got hit in the head really hard, it just made it always shiny, no matter what. I can still experience storms.
Right.
Right. I can still walk through mud.
Right.
Right. And recognize and navigate uncomfortable, dark, awkward, stuff. Right. It's just different today. Because it no matter what, it goes back at the end of walking through the mud, it's shiny.
Yeah.
Because I know the interdependence or it's like I understand how necessary walking through that mud is.
Right.
And how it relates to the shiny rainbows and unicorns. It's kind of wild.
I can glimpse it when you talk about it. I mean, I understand it.
Yeah.
I don't experience life in that way. I'm probably more experiencing life like most people. I knew we were on the phone one day and we were talking, and I remember you were just like, what I understood you to be saying is, why is that real for you? Right? Like, so Jocelyn, just what you always said, like chilling with momentum. I think you were just like, just sit back and enjoy the shit show. Like, this is
allow it to occur.
Right.
It's gonna anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
No matter how you feel about it, if that
it's there.
Yeah. If that wave is in, it's in.
And I remember thinking, I heard it. I understood what you were saying. And I was like, okay, I have to hear it and I have to decide about it. Whereas for you, you probably are just like, this is what it is. This is how it works.
Yeah. Currently, right now, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And I can take a break inside me and allow that to occur.
Yeah.
And it's rare that I may get in it, right? Or become attached to it.
Right.
Right. Or feed into it.
Right.
Right. That's rare. Right. And even if it occurs, I'm able to observe it occurring, but beyond that, it just kind of, life just sort of is, people are, the weather does what it does.
I'll tell you.
It's all real similar.
It gets easier. That can happen even without these amazing experiences that you've had.
Totally.
Both with psychedelics at age 11 and then near-death experience after near-death experience, right?
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're here talking.
Yeah?
Well, yeah, because it's important that people, I feel it's very, very, very important that people know that they can experience magic, that they can touch magic without going through trauma.
Yeah.
It requires work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It requires a form of training, let's say.
Right.
No different than an Olympic athlete, right? They may be born predisposed to, be a little bit muscularly bionic or whatever, but they train.
Right.
And they focus and they have a mindfulness, a practice, and a discipline along the way. And so when you incorporate a beautiful hallucinogenic like the mushroom, because the mushroom, out of all the ones that I've got to experiment with, and I haven't gotten to do all of them, right? I fancy the mushroom.
Right.
You know, it's the one thing that I find most easy to work with on a regular basis or not.
Do we want to list the other ones that you've experienced?
Well, the ones that I've experienced are LSD, peyote, and mushrooms.
Okay. Wow.
Right.
How did you? Oh,
those are
New
those
Mexico.
are right. Those are my three things.
Okay.
Right. And then after the near death out of body experiences, I don't have after the near death out of body experiences, it's not the same as it was before. It's more like a tool now. Right? It's like I'm not looking for anything. I'm not seeking for anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Today it's like a tune-up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like changing the oil in your car, only it's a little bit like changing, you know, the perspective in your mind or keeping it. It's like doing a cleanse.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I can take a micro dose and do what I do during the day when I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Right. I can still do my work because it's not physical in a sense of psychoactive. It's like all of a sudden the space between experiences just becomes unified and fluid.
Okay.
And it's almost as if it's like a little bit of a happy thing.
Right.
But I don't go to it to escape from what is right here, right now.
Right.
And I feel that's very, very important. Right?
Right.
Is to understand that the mushroom helps the person see what's already inside them.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it helps open up that door as long as they're willing to look.
Right.
Right?
It's a little bit of truth.
Yeah.
A little bit of truth.
And that's one of the beautiful things that we talk about.
Yeah.
Right? Is it can help one see their own truth. It can help you look at your life. And in that space, you can actually discover that, hey, man, I can take the helm of this vessel. It's my vessel. And I'm responsible for my happiness. I'm responsible for my love.
Wow.
Right?
So that's huge. Like, I've never really heard anyone say that is something that you might experience as a result of, you know,
It's my life.
Taking a journey is the responsibility. That's a huge one. Like, I think that's a huge spiritual step. When we understand what part it is that we're playing in this thing called life, because so many of us feel victimized.
Yeah.
You know, it's this is happening to us instead of this is happening. But it's almost like something outside of us has put us here and is working its magic on us. And it's not always magical, right? When we're complaining about it.
It may not. It's always magical.
No, I mean when people are complaining about their experiences, you know, they're usually not complaining because they feel that magic is taking place. They feel just the opposite, that life sucks.
Yeah,
you know,
they
life is
they
crappy.
feel that they don't have as much magic as they'd like to have in that moment.
That's exactly what it is. And whose fault is that? So if we can actually learn that we are part of the equation and truly not just have someone say it to us, but like you experience it. Yes.
Feel it, right?
Exactly.
Right? Because
know it.
The word is not the thing, right? Like you got to feel it.
Right.
You can have someone tell you about it. It can be intellectual.
Right.
Right. But with intellect, there is limitation because you can't know everything about everything.
Right.
Right. So if it's captured with your intellect, it's always going to be limited.
Yes.
Right. If it's felt and coupled with your intelligence.
Yeah.
Right. That's that thing inside everyone that sometimes they listen to, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they know it's there. Sometimes you feel like it's not there.
I know exactly what you're talking, I think, because, you use this a lot in terms of touching it and feeling.
Like knowing and doing are two different things.
Knowing and doing are two different things. Yeah.
Thinking and feeling are two different things.
For sure.
You can think about anything.
Yeah.
Right? It can.
That almost feels like conscious and subconscious to me. These two things that you're talking about, right? So we know
surface and depth.
Surface, conscious,
surface and depth.
Subconscious.
How deep do you want to go?
How deep?
How deep are you willing to dive into you and your life?
Yeah.
Because you're responsible for your life.
Right.
You're responsible for your happiness. If you're not responsible for your life and your happiness, right, then you tend to maybe be a little irresponsible.
This is perfect.
For the life of happiness of others that you come in contact with.
Say that again.
We must be responsible for the energy we bring into a space.
I like it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the mushroom helps us become aware
of how
the
we
energy
fit
that
in.
we have in that particular space.
Very true.
Because it takes away.
It can,
right? And I don't know how long we've been talking, right? Do we need to know how long we've been talking?
Good.
We're just talking. Okay, cool.
But I hear exactly what it is that you're saying. It definitely, it's the conscious ideas and the subconscious, the knowing or the thinking and the feeling. The thinking on the conscious level, the feeling on the subconscious. And the one thing that I think that the researchers agree about is that those psychedelics are definitely opening the door to the subconscious.
Without a doubt. And what they're also doing is they're opening up the door to, most people think that they know that what they think is it. Right?
Well, that's all
the psychedelics helps one see that there's a whole lot more to all of it.
Yeah.
Right? Beginning with inside yourself. Because when you can discover inside yourself that there's a whole lot more to you, oh my God, the world can become a whole lot more brighter and shinier and happier. And next thing you know, people call you happy and stuff. And
but that's a step. Like that's a step, right?
Yeah.
Because when you discover, first of all, that you're part of the equation.
Yeah.
That life isn't happening to you, but that you are happening life. That
Yeah.
you are creating and making life. That you are creating your experiences.
And that you may be the experience experiencing itself in the totality of the experience. Was that a lot?
You always have to go there. Now we have to break something back down. What?
Because it's expansive. It's all connected. It's all interdependent. And it's all simple.
Yeah.
You
get to the place where
not.
you don't have to think about it. Like, even though you went there with that expansion, right?
Thanks for bringing me back, as you do so gracefully all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to think that much about it when you accept.
Feel it. When you feel it.
Absolutely. When you feel it, and
acceptance is the space between thinking and feeling.
It is. Acceptance is the space between thinking and feeling. I think you can get there to the feeling
without trauma.
You must accept, right? That means you must accept. And so when you can accept that you are part of it, you can accept that responsibility. Not only because...
See, now we're going into a whole different space, right?
I think so. I think we're in that same space. When what you were saying is that with psychedelics, you understand the responsibility that you have, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like the understanding comes afterwards. The feeling of being part of a greater whole, I feel, is what comes first. All of a
Sure.
sudden, you can feel one.
can.
It can. All of a sudden, you can feel connected to a tree.
Sure. Why
Right?
not?
You can eat a little bit of mushroom, sit under a tree on a beautiful day, and just kind of be one with the tree.
Sound like you're talking about tree huggers. Not everybody appreciates a tree hugger. Just want you to
Or
know
a
that.
wave.
Just thought I might say that.
Right? Let's just say that, these, what we're talking about can, nature helps it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nature is, like when we become disconnected from nature, we become very unattached from life. We become very detached from life. You know what I mean? And the way that our lives are right now is they're very, a little less than attached to the natural world. They're more attached to a technical world.
Sure.
And somewhere in there is a balance. And that's one of the things that the psilocybin helps with, is it just helps us see, touch, and feel that balance. That balance is, it can. And that balance is unique to the individual.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the experience I have is different than the experience that you have.
Right.
Or another beautiful soul in the audience. Because we're all beautiful souls.
Right.
Right? Cruising around. We all can be a light to each other. But we got to see the light in ourselves first.
Absolutely.
Right?
I agree with you 100%. No pressure on anyone who attempts or tries or just takes the journey.
Yeah.
Like no pressure, no predisposed ideas are we pushing here.
No expectation, no right, no wrong. No methodology, no program. It's not a sales thing or anything. It's all it is an encouragement to
be open.
Yeah.
Be open to the possibility that what you know isn't all there is.
Just be open to being open. Without condemnation, without judgment, without opinion.
Without condemnation, judgment, or
because it's all magic. And all the little bits make up the totality of the magic. And what that kind of means is all the openness and all the closeness, right? Let's talk, let's say in a mindset aspect, all the open-minded and all the closed-minded makes up the totality of the magic.
Okay. I'm sure that most people don't want to think of themselves as closed-mindedness or as closed-minded. They, we don't want to think of ourselves as closed-minded. When you talked about even nature, we have to talk about our experiences, right? And our ideas about reality. Mm-hmm. And we're in agreement, of course, which is why we're here.
Yeah.
We agree that nature absolutely plays a huge part of
it can help
our experience.
You know what I mean? Like it can help.
I think it helped us get where we are, actually.
Big time.
Like it's actually a part of the evolution that has taken place, I believe, in this human experience.
Without a doubt.
So it's probably not a bad thing to, if one were to utilize this substance, that they do have that in mind, that they might want to take that with them. The idea that, first of all, it's a natural product. Completely. There is nothing. Some people think that there's actually something being put into mushrooms. Nope. It comes out of the ground fully as is. It happens to be psychoactive. And it happens to interact with receptors that we have inside of this thing that we call the body.
Yes.
And so it's it can be a very interesting experience, and it can even broaden your idea of what is real.
Yeah. It can
maybe change the definition for you.
It can do amazing things if one is open to being open to the possibility of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's all. Because, when you were just talking about it being organic and natural and stuff, I was thinking about it, right? Like a mushroom is the fruit of a fungus.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And fungi is like the oldest stuff in the whole wide world, right? It comes from super old stuff.
It is.
So it's not like it's new.
Right.
It's not like, and that's one of the things that I feel some people may find comfort in. Like, hey, it's been around for a long time. Because for some people, they could be living in a geographic location where it's just not really talked about. Like in cities, right? It's very, up to date or whatever, right? Depending on where you are, the closer that you go in to, like, let's say the mainland of America, right?
The center of the country?
Yeah, the center of the country. Like, it's people, what's up to date, what's cool, what's trendy, what's whatever. It takes a little bit of a longer time to get from the coast to the center. It eventually gets there.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the beauties about, like being on video and stuff like that is people can touch that.
Yeah.
Right. And they can get caught up, and along that way, they can perhaps change their mind or have, I was talking to somebody about it, and the person goes, wow, I don't necessarily feel like that's for me, but my 80-year-old father, I feel, would really benefit from that.
Cool. Yeah.
Right. So I shared with him a little bit of info, and that's what it was. And so you never know who you're going to share about it with, how it's going to, and just that fact right there let me know that dude was open to being open to something
on some
possible.
level.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't include him.
Yeah.
He was open to being open on
for his
level.
dad.
Yeah.
Or for his family member, because it's not right. It's not wrong. Nothing is for everyone.
Right.
And vice versa. You know what I mean? But truth is, it can impact your life in a beautiful way.
Love
if you're open
is
to
for
it.
everyone.
Love is for everyone. And that's one of the things that I feel is the greatest thing that I've received from it, is the unity of love that can come from it. Now, that also came from, dying and stuff like that. But like, it all is connected.
Yeah.
Right. We're all connected. I'm you, you're me.
Yeah.
Right. We experience life, death, love, fear, and thinking.
Good or bad, here's the truth about this show. We can only share our reality, our impression, perception of what is real.
Perspective, which changes. Reality is kind of a moment-to-moment sort of thing for me.
Well, I think for the two of us, I understand exactly what you're saying. But there are some fundamentals to our idea of what's happening here.
We'll get into that later. Right? I'm not even sure if we've introduced ourselves. Right?
We plan to do that a lot.
Yeah.
Right? We plan to bounce around in these areas a lot. But for today, Mr. Happy Michael Murray.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Nixon.
This is all the time we have. Cool. But I'm looking forward to doing this a lot with you in the future.
Big time.
Yeah, this is really, really fun. And while we don't want to push our ideas out there on anyone who isn't receptive and doesn't want anything to do with them, this is our reality. Which
is cool too, man, because that's all beautiful too.
Yeah.
Right? It all has its place.
Yeah.
Right? Because it takes a village. We all make up the village. Everyone is beautiful.
Everyone is beautiful. And we love you guys.
Love you too.
Each and every one of you.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.